Took a long time to get here. Go ahead, punch it in. Whoa.
Welcome to the bunker.
Man, anymore. I almost want to give up. It's like, oh well, you got everything already on me, so you know, it's like defeating. You know, just the stuff they're doing with the flock cameras. Data centers are coming around and ruining everything. It's just crazy. You know that we're in a surveillance state that, pretty much they'll be reading our minds, and we'll be living that Minority Report. Movie.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're thought police, which is first of all, that's already happening. Like in Great Britain or England, to be specific, I think. You can get arrested and fined or even put in jail just for typing stuff on social media that you're thinking about.
Well, from what I know,
thought police,
over in Europe, and especially Great Britain and stuff, they've had the cameras up for years. I mean, it's just now coming here and getting bad, and gaining. We've had cameras all over the place. A business will have a camera, a bank. That's a good thing.
Yeah,
you think, but where's that stuff going? Is it staying in house? Well, it used to. Now it's going to share information and I don't know if everybody's seen the new reels out there, or shorts, or whatever you want to call them, little videos where the police are coming up to people's houses saying, hey, we've got you on video stealing, being a porch pirate, to this lady. And she's like, what are you talking about? It's a lady that looks like her. She had driven by this house like this many times. They had her license plate and stuff. No, this is you. And it took a lot for her to get out of trouble there. So, if you're a middle-aged blonde, with a certain, stature, look like I'm a short, fat guy that looks different than everybody else. So, I could probably get out of that, but it was a mistaken identity. So, they're using it to prosecute people, but it's not 100%. So
we're going to be talking about Flock, and not today, but we're going to be talking about Flock and also this data centers and how that's going to affect people and neighborhoods and just life in general. Today we're going to be talking about a little bit of conspiracy theory type of a thing. We're doing directed energy weapons, and I know that sounds
creepy AF.
It is creepy, yeah. Laser beams, like in Star Wars.
Laser beams.
And that's scary enough. We're going to talk about that too, but the other directed energy weapons would be like the microwave ones and the RF ones. There is a retired U.S. Air Force Special Operations Commander, Major Glenn Ignazio. I don't know if you guys ever heard of him. He's a spokespeoper, so he's got some videos and this and that. He was a combat rescue pilot, national security analyst. The guy's portfolio is incredible. Well, I was not able to get him on as a guest. Would have been awesome if I could have. Had I could have had a conversation with him that went a little like this.
Virtually, here in studio, Major Glenn Ignazio, retired Special Ops, Air Force Commander, and National Security Expert in Defense Intelligence Technology. Let's get right into it. Directed energy weapons. Tell us what you can about them.
All right, there's two types of systems. Okay, so there's lasers, which I think most people are familiar with, and then basically like microwave or RF radiation. Basically, very intense microwaves. Basically, you can't see it, radio signals, so forth. That does jamming. Lasers do a lot of damage. Actually, they both do a lot of damage. But those are the two. And actually, laser, a lot of people don't know it, is actually an acronym. It stands for Light Amplified by the Stimulated Emission of Radiation. A little geeky, but that's what it actually stands for.
You once said, this changes the game because they're based on the speed of light. That sounds futuristic. What did you mean by that?
Okay, so say the fastest projectile we have, which is from like a railgun, but I won't get into that, goes about 8,000 feet per second. That's about a mile and a half per second. The speed of light is 186,000 miles per second. So imagine the difference of a bullet, taking into consideration wind and all this other stuff, to just the speed of light. Imagine your flashlight, you can point it at a missile and boom, it's gone. That's the speed, that's the intensity that most people don't even imagine.
Okay, so how is using a laser or microwave type of DEW different from, say, shooting a bullet or missile?
Sure. So again, that bullet, for the time that it takes to get to something that's moving very fast, there's a lot of math, a lot of calculations, wind, all these different things you have to take in consideration, even the rotation of Earth if it's very far away, right? So there's a lot of things. With a laser, since it moves so fast at the speed of light, or even the RF, the microwave, does the same thing, moves at the speed of light, it's like we were talking about, it's like putting a flashlight on a target and just pointing it around. So it's so intense, so fast, it's basically immediate. The difficulty part is detecting it and be able to track it so that the laser can be put on a point that is very delicate so that the device, whatever it may be, is destroyed.
It's understandable why most of our adversaries are pushing to develop directed energy weapons, but the deadlines for development seem to be accelerating. What's changed with the technology that makes this so alluring?
Sure. So lasers basically can be operated in three different ways, or created in three different ways. It can be used by using chemicals, using gas, or what we call solid state, which is power supplies, electronics and everything, which is really the way that we do it now. And it makes it a lot smaller. So the difference about this is, again, you can get multiple targets. And the other thing is we were talking about, say, THAAD, the missile system that goes and hits the drones and the missiles and everything. It costs $8 million a shot. When you're talking about a laser, you could be talking about 30 cents, $1 to shoot one pulse of laser against a drone that could be $100,000, $85,000 or more. So that, what they call that deep magazine, means you can keep on firing it. It's not like you're going to run out of bullets, but you got to have the power and so forth. But it has the ability to be incredibly cost effective than what we're doing right now.
These directed energy weapons, both laser and microwave, they're huge in size. How did we get to this point where they can fit in a small plane or vehicle, or even a rifle?
Yeah, just the development of technology. So again, using chemicals or gas or whatever, very intense, very powerful, but we've gotten to what we call the solid state. So it's the advancement of technology has been significant to where we can literally use it very quickly, use power supplies like large computers, lack for a better term, just trying to explain to your viewers. It's using all electronics and so forth and lenses to be able to make a laser operate at enough power to damage a adversary or a threat. So it's the advancement of technology. And again, those were the stepping stones even way back in the 80s, late 80s, all the way to present day and just the advancements of what we've gotten to.
This technology is awesome, and I'm glad the U.S. has it. Can you talk about what other countries or even our adversaries are working on? How far along are they?
Yeah, absolutely. So other governments. So Israel actually has something operational right now. So everybody knows about the Iron Shield and so forth with the missiles. But Iron Beam. Iron Beam is using the same thing. It was created by Rafael, which a European defense. And so it actually is filmed being used against some of the threats that Iran was launching in. So again, this is operational. It was using lasers to defend itself. At the same time, when we look at an adversary like China and Russia, they've been working on these things for a long time as well. So like China has this system, it's called an LY-1. So again, trying to be not kicky, but it's used on ship, and it's ship and it's ground-based, and it's designed to hit drones or cruise missiles, but it could also damage, helicopters and fixed wing. I think they have it on a ship right now as well. And then, of course, Russia's been developing this for ages. They had, I think it was 2019, and I'm going to be horrible on the pronunciation, but they have a system called Peresvet, and it's a ground-based laser that's designed to look at satellites, optical satellites, surveillance satellites, spy satellites, and actually blind it. So it's the idea of just putting like a very bright flashlight in your eyes. They've also used, I think it was in 2022 in Ukraine, a system called Zdera. It was reported that it was able to actually shoot targets at a few miles away and destroy them. I didn't see too much. There's some reports about it. And then lastly, they have a system called Newsmet. and again, my pronunciation, this is a satellite that's in orbit. And this is using the RF or microwave energy to basically damage electronics and so forth. That's how they work. And that's designed to do it against satellites. So anti-satellite, or what we call ASAT.
So it's clearly a race, right? Who, in your opinion, is further along with their development?
I think we are in the United States. I think our technology and everything has been the most advanced. But when we talk about operational deployments, Israel has always been very quick to do this because, again, they're in a high threat area. They're trying to get that development operational. But we do have systems. We do have smaller systems that are on some of the, I'm trying to think of the systems that are in the Marine Corps, the ground track vehicles. I wouldn't say Hummers, but some of the ground vehicles that we have that are trying to be anti-drone. So we're trying to get those out there and accelerate it as quickly as possible. And so that's been the development. And again, as we were talking about from bullets to lasers, you know, the idea that you could shoot these lasers so quickly and so fast that if you had multiple drones out there, say 10 coming at you, it literally is like you're pointing a flashlight for a few seconds to destroy them versus shooting a lot of bullets, hoping that you're going to hit it, or a missile system and how complicated it is. But that's how we're basically doing it technologically to actually integrating into operations.
So, Major, how does this advance warfare in general? Will they be used in combat? Should they be?
Well, I think that the advancement of warfare in general is sort of pushing these requirements to get further and further. So any kind of directed energy. And again, we are talking laser, and we are talking sort of this RF, radio frequency or microwave. So if you look at this from a standpoint of how small can you get this? So if you were looking at it from a standpoint of, say, special operations, there's reports, of course, that are out there in Venezuela that when the teams, the Delta Force, or CAG, we call them, were on the ground, that some of the individuals had issues with their hearing. You know, the Venezuelans, they dropped, they were incapacitated. We have some acoustic devices that can do that. So that's not laser and RF. Or it could be the RF or microwave that can get you what's called radiation sickness. When I say radiation, we're not talking about gamma like a nuclear, but basically RF sickness would make you feel horrible, give you headaches, make you sick, give you earaches and everything. That's something they've also assumed, possibly the Havana syndrome, but those are very small and portable. But now let's look at something even further. When you have a sniper, back to the bullet, you have to calculate the winds, humidity, temperature, again, rotation of Earth when you're looking at a mile long. Now imagine if you had something like a rifle or maybe a little bit bigger. You have, say, Saddam Hussein giving a speech, and all of a sudden you pull a trigger, flash a light, and the gentleman basically is killed. Big difference. So that could be something, again, when you're looking at these advanced technologies from the big satellites to how would it be with a person, you're literally looking at science fiction like Star Wars coming into play.
You mentioned Havana syndrome. That's a scary outcome. How likely do you think will it be that the general public gets their hands on these weapons?
That's a big question because, I mean, you can literally make this in a way. Your microwave oven, guess what? That's microwaves. How was that developed? That was, I think it was Westinghouse. The guy was developing radars for aircraft and realized his chocolate bar in his pocket was melting. That's how you got the microwave oven. So it literally came from a defense program to your household. So these type of capabilities, or at least the systems that make these RF frequencies and everything, or microwave, is out there. The problem is making it powerful enough and small enough for somebody to actually put it into play. So again, the electronics are out there, how intelligent somebody is. You have AI that can assist you in development. It could be out there, but again, you're talking about different systems that are probably smaller, not as powerful than what we're talking in the military, but nothing is ever far away. And the last thing I always say about this is any kind of system, it's a yin-yang thing in the defense, homeland security, it doesn't matter. You develop something for defense, it can be used exactly the same thing for offensive. We've been talking offensive. We actually use lasers on board aircraft to use defensively to blind missile systems. So you can use them either way. But again, what is going to happen in the future and how people get their hands on it, it's always a concern.
Can you draw from your experiences at Lockheed Martin and Defense Tech about the challenges these developers are facing when it comes to things like materials, power requirements, targeting, cooling, integration, and the weather? You talked about the rotation of the Earth. What are the challenges involved?
It's not the particularly laser that's the critical part. You also have the electronics. Again, how do you detect it? How do you track it? And how do you calculate it to put the laser on the right spot, or at least on a small area, to destroy it? So it's the integration of all those systems that make a play. there's some defenses that you have to think about if it's a drone or it's an aircraft. And here's how you could do it. There's a thing that you could harden. So you could put more robust material that may be defeating heat, which laser creates, to protect the electronics or the critical parts of an aircraft so a laser doesn't affect you. Okay, so that's one. The second thing is you have reflective devices. So yes, lasers, mirrors, just like the movies, they do have that impact where you can deflect them, all right? So they could use that on different aircraft or different systems and everything. So, depends on how tech it is. And then believe it or not, now this is the craziest here. So BAE Systems created this LDAL. So it's laser developed atmospheric lens. Okay, again, sorry, these acronyms are crazy. But it was, how you have a mirage on the desert? It literally creates that around the vehicle. How it does it, I don't quite know. Basically make the laser confused as far as what it's seeing. Because again, outside of all the high tech, if you have fog, clouds, you can't see the particular target, the laser's not going to work. Or dust, dirt, sand, again, sandstorms, the laser is going to be diffracted. Again, it is a visible light sometimes, but most of the lasers we use are invisible beyond your eyesight. So these things affect it. Atmospherics, certain dumb technology, and some cosmic high technology that, again, not familiar with that one, but it's out there right now.
We've discussed high-energy lasers and high-powered microwave weapons. Can you explain the difference to our listeners?
Sure. So the laser, again, is what people are thinking about. Science fiction movies, you see the light, right? Lasers, people are familiar with lasers. When you're talking about the more or less the microwave or the RF radiation, these are literally, as we're talking about radar. Let's use radar in an airplane. If you're within 100 feet when a radar in front of an airplane is on, you're going to get sick. It's going to give you that RF radiation. But when you have this intense amount of energy going out in microwaves and everything, say from a satellite or something else, or even on the ground, it's the electronics that are getting messed up. It's putting so much power into that area that it is jamming it, is one of the ways it could do it, or it's getting it so intense and hot and overwhelmed that it basically fries itself. That's the best way to do it. And the way that they're structured, we've created our satellites to be resistant to nuclear, what we call EMP. It's an electromagnetic pulse when a nuke goes off and fries electronics. We made a lot of our satellites and our airplanes to be resistant to that in nuclear warfare. When it comes to this microwave or radio frequency, it actually can get through that depending on how they do it. So we might not have a defense for it. And so that's how it is. It's literally intense radio frequency that's jamming or actually destroying the particular target.
We keep hearing this term, deep magazine, in reference to directed energy weapons. Can you explain that for us?
Sure. Okay, so let's take a look at an M4 rifle, typical rifle U.S. troops carry. It has a magazine of about 30 rounds. That means I'm shooting 30 bullets, and when that magazine is empty, get rid of it. I got to load it back up. When you're talking about energy, you're basically, as long as you got the power supply, as long as you can keep it cool, I can keep on firing it. So can I do it 100 times, 1,000 times, 10,000 times? Yeah. So there's no, hey, let's stop, let's reload this. Chemicals and stuff, we talked about that. We're talking about solid state lasers. As long as you have the power, as long as you can cool it and keep it operational, you're going to keep shooting. How much power you have, the generator, the infrastructure, that's what basically empowers the laser. If you were to lose infrastructure, you got to have generators. If you're making it portable, like if it's on a vehicle, maybe a generator. If it's on a person, you got to use batteries. So batteries would probably be the closest, lowest power laser. And then when you get into the generators or other major infrastructure, you can get into more and more and more powerful. It's all up to the power that's being able to provide it.
Directed energy weapons are silent and invisible. In terms of forensics, how hard would it be to tell if somebody used them?
Yeah, so great question again. Is one, we do have detection systems on the military side, right? We do have abilities to see some of these lasers that you can't see with the naked eye, with night vision and so forth. But it also comes down to the damage. So if you have, again, we do this in accident investigations when things happen, or if an aircraft is shot down, you're going to see things like shrapnel and so forth from missiles and so forth. When you're talking about a laser, you're talking about a burn spot. You're going to talk about a smaller area. It's going to have a certain amount of energy and intense energy that will be warping certain surfaces, aluminum, fiberglass, whatever. So it really is what the remnants are that are left behind that would tell you that, hey, a laser shot this down versus an explosive missile or something like that.
Okay, so follow-up question. If civilians were able to get their hands on these weapon systems, how hard would it be for investigators to track?
Well, that goes back to the same thing as we were saying, is that it doesn't take long for this particular laser to do damage.
Right.
So if it's something that is going to be used, again, offensively, let's say this gets to the point, again, like science fiction, but it gets to the point where it's portable, where somebody could carry something that looks like a large rifle. You're literally able to target it at somebody, literally putting a dot on somebody, pulling the trigger, and then maybe it's 3 to 5 seconds and they're gone. So that's what that supposedly that system Zadira that the Russians were supposedly using in Ukraine really did. But again, if you get all the way to advancements where things can get into a regular civilian capability, yes, you do have that threat. And again, if you look at it from far away, rifles then got to the civilian community for hunting, and then we used it for destroying people. Now we have drones, right? Drones that were very large, the size of airplanes. Now they're yay big if you put something on them. So this will always proliferate to the civilian community, even as Russia and China would give technology to Iran, they'll do it to their adversaries too. So, I mean, it proliferates to militaries and always proliferates to civilian human beings that want to do malicious intent and harm.
With movies, social media, and newsreels, we're all mostly familiar with what bullet wounds and kinetic fighting looks like. Without being offensive, how would directed energy weapons injuries compare? Would they implode, fry their brains? Will their insides turn to goo?
So we talked about the high intensity power like a microwave. Well, you're basically cooking somebody from inside. That's the microwave radiation. Is like it's a microwave oven, but you're doing it to a human being. Guess what? That's what could happen, but it'll take longer. So I'm going to be graphic. If you had an intense, powerful laser enough, and you aimed it at a adversary and you pull the trigger, you can take their head right off. You can put a hole through them. If you take a look at commercial industrial lasers right now, we use lasers to absolutely carve through and basically cut through incredible thick steel. I mean, that capability, if you make it small enough, you're taking out people, you're taking out industrial items as we do right now. You can take out vehicles, weapon systems. So yes, you literally can put a dot on somebody, pull a trigger, and their head comes off.
Let's talk Havana Syndrome. There's been all kinds of stories and accusations about soldiers being hit by energy weapons and being immobilized with severe symptoms and sickness. Are there any connections between Havana Syndrome and directed energy weapons?
Yeah, honestly, the first time I heard about it, the first thing I thought about was RF radiation sickness. Or like I said, is even the systems that communicate on for our radio communication, our television, all these different things is RF radiation, radio frequency. Okay, microwave is very high. So as soon as I heard about the Havana Syndrome, that's the first thing I thought about. It doesn't take that much power. Maybe it's a larger device, but it doesn't take that much to shoot it through a wall if you have people on the other side of the wall, if it's powerful enough, and you're starting to get this RF sickness. Now, I'm not talking about the cooking thing like we used before with the microwaves, but this RF radiation is like if you're too close to radio stations right now, people say they don't feel well. It's literally the same type of thing that's being imposed on a person, but much more powerful, much closer, and you'll be able to do it without having to look at something. If the power is enough, it'll go right through a surface.
So, Major, this may be a difficult question for you to answer being in the weapon systems industry. How far is too far when it comes to deploying a legitimate military defensive tool, as opposed to one that could potentially be used maliciously on people as a form of control or torture?
If you're using a weapon to cause incredible suffering, to an adversary, that's a no-go. That's why a lot of weapon systems that were used in the past are not being used these days, things that have gone away. So if you are going to do that, so for example, again, not to be graphic, but I'm going to be direct, this is war, is that you want to be able to take a particular individual out as cleanly as you can. That's our ethic in the United States. That's the way it's been. Not to cause suffering. In wars in the past, our adversaries would try to wound one of the soldiers, and it takes 4 or 2 others to carry it out. So if I wound one, I took 3 soldiers off the line. Well, now you're talking about suffering or different weapon systems that do absolute pain for no reason. These systems, as long as it's taking out a threat, and we'll use a human threat as cleanly as possible. I know it's hard. Again, it's warfare. That's really the key of what is an acceptable or not acceptable weapon. It doesn't matter if it's a bullet or if it's a laser. As long as there's no intentional suffering to an adversary or an individual, that's the clean kill, lack for a better term. Hard to say, but it's the truth.
That was Major Glenn Ignacio. He's got a lot to say about directed energy weapons. Now, our TOPS team will dissect and discuss back at the TOPS Bunker studio.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Right? Can you imagine, like right now, you've got, got President Trump. He's there in Butler, Texas, and there's a kid up on the roof with an AR-15 or whatever it was, and boom, 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 firing, and he's basically missing. Did get one grazed off, Trump's ear. If it's a laser, it's instant. There's no missing. You put the dot on the heart, and they're done. That's it. And you can do it from miles away.
If you were to search any of this stuff, you can find that the U.S. government does admit that, number one, direct energy weapons exist, and number two, we actually have them. If you go to congress.gov, if you go to the Center for Arms Control and Nonproliferation website, they do, in fact, exist. They do function within the U.S. government. We have seen them in action.
You're talking about Charlie?
Well, not really Charlie. That's a whole separate everything. The individuals that have already taken a shot at Trump, one of them lived with his grandmother, and then all of a sudden has a brand new Toyota Tacoma, all of a sudden has a brand new Giselle weapon that's tricked out and has not really been known to be a shooter ever in his life. And I'm sorry, but the people who are behind trying to take Trump's life are probably a lot closer to the government than we think. You could probably surmise that if somebody was to use one of these direct energy weapons to try to take out a high level official such as the president, it would be removing the patsy. So I don't think that would happen that way.
I see what you're saying. They're removing the patsy, but what if they don't care? What if it's Iran and they don't care? All they want to do is kill Americans. Take out the president. They don't care about a patsy. They're just going to take out the president.
But I mean, if you're a terrorist and you want to inflict maximum, terrorism, you're going to want to try to take out as many as you possibly can. That's what their goal is anyways,
There's over 9 different countries that openly admit that they have these weapons, and Iran says they do. There's no proof to it, but I'll just briefly mention them so you can kind of fill in the blanks here. You got China, France, Spain, Germany, United Kingdom, Russia, India, Israel, Turkey, and Iran supposedly has one. So think about who our adversaries are and, who's our friends and foes and, supposed friends and this and that. And it would not be hard to get one of these weapons, in the right hands.
Yeah, probably not one of the best or first sources I would ever go to. And I again, it's not my normal jam, but the ACLU.org website.
This will be good.
They actually have a thing in here about direct energy devices. And according to this, the U.S. Air Force Research Laboratory and the U.S. Department of Defense Joint Non-Lethal Weapons Directorate initially funded the development of an electromagnetic heating weapon in 2002. By 2004, private manufacturers such as Raytheon, of course, were funded to continue research. And the first prototype, Active Denial System 1, underwent some testing and was deployed in Afghanistan in 2010. So, according to this, Silent Guardian is the name of the system. It's marketed directly to civilian law enforcement agencies and other security providers, but there's no indicators that it has been used on U.S. citizens.
What does it do? What's the actual weapon?
It creates an electromagnetic field and it directs electromagnetic energy in a direction to create heat and basically burn. So like burn things, burn people.
It's been used in Europe, supposedly. That they were having some riots in a certain country And I can't remember the country or whatever. And there's thousands of people on the streets and stuff. And you can go back and fact check this or whatever. But the people on the street felt, all of a sudden it looked like a wave went down through the middle of the street.
Right. I remember this.
And everybody said they felt hot, that they just felt
Got nauseous.
bad. They just had, it was one of those feelings that I just have to move. You know, my brain's telling me to retreat, kind of thing.
You're saying crowd control, and I can see that if you have some sort of a riot happening. But what if you have peaceful protesters? What if you have, let's say, campaigning? Like if you're campaigning for let's say the presidency or something like that, and you can use these directed energy weapons to clear out crowds, make them go home, make them feel sick to their stomachs, whatever. That can change the outcome of elections. What if it's the election polling centers and you use some kind of a directed energy weapon on? Now, I'm not talking about the lasers that kill people, but like the microwave ones that make you feel sick or make you shit your pants or, make you throw up. You're going to be running back to the truck as fast as you can to get home.
Yeah.
I think that particular kind, and they are, they're real. I think that they would go with something starting more subtle. Like you can use the same kind of device to create an extremely high frequency sound that is not perceptible except to some individuals at first, and then you increase
like
that
for headaches.
Yes. So like people like me who have severe tinnitus, it might actually help. Like it might be like, oh wow, I don't hear the ringing in my face, so must be better. But the use of these weapons have been challenged by a lot of individuals. And there's actually another website. It actually features a FOIA, which is a Request for Information Act. And there was a FOIA request to the CIA about whether or not these weapons, do exist. They, function the way that people believe they do. And of course, the CIA can neither confirm nor deny the existence of them, that they've been used. However, apparently the CIA only has a 9.8% return on any FOIA requests throughout the history of the CIA.
FOIA, it's supposed to be where any American citizen, anybody, you and me, anybody can ask for information that's not top secret or classified, and they have to give it to you under the transparency of the government, which is what the FOIA Act is. But the thing is, they give you the runaround, and if do give you stuff, it could be what's called
retracted.
Yes, exactly. Where it's got all the redacted, where it's got all the black lines in it, or it could take a year, or we're still getting around to that, or we missed your phone call or whatever it was, that kind of thing.
Did you guys ever get to hear that interview with the guard at the Maduro raid?
Yeah.
Like how he described how they felt?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're talking about Venezuela where we went in to get Maduro. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, the Maduro raid. He said that, they were all standing there waiting and, you could hear gunshots and stuff in the distance. And then all of a sudden he started feeling hot and he started feeling nausea and he started feeling confusion. And he started feeling like his head was like pounding and all these different things. And people were starting to just puke and fall out and run.
Yeah, their troops were dropping like flies.
I do like that interview. The voice sounded a little AI, but that former pilot, he was really dancing on the edge. What we call OPSEC. He was really dancing on the edge of some of that stuff. It's like we don't use certain words in public. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, he's using that word. Commissioned officers, when they become a certain rank, they can actually be recalled to be punished under the UCMJ, which is the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So they can actually bring them back in order to punish them.
Some of the tinfoil hat shit I listened to, they were saying that those direct energy weapon systems that caused all that stuff in Venezuela, they were drone based, flying around seconds prior to
before they got there.
Yeah, so it was like, and it was all timed. It was like a surgical strike. So boots on the ground, you're gonna have to have that kind of stuff. I have been involved in some training that I can confirm that these weapons, I mean, it's all open source intelligence anyways now. And I can give you hundreds of sources, and Jeremy has as well, that it's out there. But we absolutely have these weapons, and looks like we've used them. I don't know that we'll ever really admit to it.
One of the things that, and this goes back like ages and ages. We used to use these gigantic speakers on the back of their trucks. And you can use sound.
Oh, like the low frequency sounds make you like sick.
Yeah, these like weird wave sounds.
I've heard those. I've heard the crying babies. I mean,
yeah. But what we used to do is we used to use it to play music, like extremely loud music. We would surround villages with these trucks. They'd be synced into one thing playing music. And one of my favorite things is like we'd put on Korn. And like you could start seeing people come out and like, what the hell is that?
It sounds like the Burma Kuwait. We actually had a bagpiper. What is that song?
Which one?
Well, they open it up with the bagpipes and then, and then they hit the drums hard. That's the most iconic. I mean,
it is. Yeah,
that's the best intro to any song whatsoever, hands down.
That's Chutes and Ladders.
If you don't get pumped up when you hear that, you're dead. You're dead inside. Shit.
But that's just another. You can think of it as a directed energy weapon, but the energy is the sound being projected into the ears to create a psychological imbalance. But that goes back dude, we're talking World War II. They were using that kind of thing. So, I mean, it's just another example, but I think personally that, they can say that direct energy weapons have not been used on American citizens. I have my doubts on that. Tinfoil hat, you start talking about MK Ultra and other stuff like that. I seriously think that we've probably been subjected to certain things and we don't even know. But if you're able to use these things from a distance, like, for instance, the Maduro raid, we can always go back to that. The Maduro raid was probably, if not the most prime example of an absolutely flawless joint military action that has taken place within the past, I'd say, 45.
Maybe ever.
I was going to say 45 to 50 years, if not ever. Like, that particular thing went down like damn near flawlessly. Everybody knew their role. Everybody had their part. And they used all of these new technologies along with some good old fashioned, like shooting people's faces off. And it went like exactly as they planned. So, I mean.
And it was great practice for our military, for several different branches.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible to think about how that went down.
Look at the messaging there. I mean, this is a world of message. Iran didn't get the memo, I guess, but and why aren't we using it there? This is, I guess, reasons, but I think Cuba got a hold of that memo. They're starting to kind of want to play ball with us and stuff. So
yeah, and according to this same paper. According to U.S.-China Economic and Security Review Commission, China has been developing direct energy weapons since at least the 1980s and has made steady progress in developing HPM weapons and increasingly powerful HELs. China has reportedly developed a 30-kilowatt road system and 30 kilowatt road mobile HEL, an LW-30, I'd have to look that up, designed to engage uncrewed aircraft systems and precision-guided weapons. So essentially what it's saying is they're using that to take down drones and unmanned aircraft.
Yeah, I think we're actually doing that now.
Yeah.
And I've worked in that space a little bit lately, and I don't know why they don't use it more.
I mean, there's footage
if it's indeed being used, I'll throw that in there.
Yeah.
Then why isn't it used more, and why aren't they going that route compared to the routes we have now?
I mean, there's footage from Ukraine, Ukrainian soldiers, and also Russian soldiers basically using some of them called it a kill box, And what it does is it actually overrides the RF frequency and then sends a boosting signal to disable the actual aircraft and either make it crash, lose its guidance, or kill the actual video and stuff like that. That's how they're bringing a lot of them down. But the other way is the good old classic shotgun. Like shotguns being imported into Ukraine now is like at an all-time high. Like they're using straight up skeet guns with double-aught buck to bring down drones.
They're using the old goose guns and stuff, man. I've seen them. Both sides use them. A lot of those are coming out of that Turkish company. What is it, Stoger? Yeah, I've heard some reports on that. But it's I think in the very end, since we're talking about warfare, the very end, you can't beat low tech and skill development. That muscle memory stuff, which we can apply that back to prepping and self defense and stuff. But a lot of the define, and then what is a direct energy weapon? It could be something as simple as an RF scrambler. Like you said. So it's.
I think it should be defined by its use.
And how can we apply this to our prepper world and stuff? So it's out there, it's usable, and it's definitely a thing.
I think as prepper survivalists, we need to know we need to know the capabilities, let's just call it, of our government, because when it comes right down to it, we're looking for self-reliance and sustainability, and a lot of parts of the government, especially the ones that want to control us, they don't like that about us. That's the reason why they don't like prepper survivalists and homesteaders to start with, is because they want to be able to control us. They want to have that power over us. So it's just another weapon, another capability that they have, and we should know about. I think that's why we're discussing it. Are there any ways of defending against these type of systems?
Well,
it depends. So you won't shit your pants and nobody knows about it. You're out there protesting something
made out of tinfoil.
Wear your tinfoil hat. It not only it'll save you more ways than one, and it depends.
This paper from the Congress does say, as a result, some analysts have noted that HPM weapons might provide more effective area defense against missile salvos and swarms of drones. HPM weapons have been also considered for the use of non-lethal heat ray systems for crowd control. And that's coming from the Congress. And when you look into another one, the armscontrolcenter.org, the practical applications, it talks a lot about the same thing, bringing down missiles and all that. But this is saying that a high-power microwave weapon can generate microwaves with longer wavelengths than lasers or millimeter waves, and capable of producing more than 100 megawatts of power that can disrupt multiple targets within their larger beam area. And that was written in 2024. What can they do now? It's like,
oh yeah.
Well,
don't they say that the military is always 20 years at least in advance of what we know?
I think we used to be.
Yeah, it's kind of like predictive programming. I mean, by the time you see it on a movie, it's probably been in existence for, a significantly long time.
Right.
Like people used to not believe that we had night vision, right? Night vision has been around since like the beginning of Vietnam. It wasn't advertised back then. We used to have this thing,
Starlit scopes.
The Starlight scope. It was this gigantic. It was crap. I'm going to be honest. But it was this gigantic scope, and it was used for precision shooting at night. But it was also used as like you could put it on a tripod or a bipod or whatever and use it to just observe at night. This stuff has been around for decades, so it's not impossible to think that, this stuff has probably been around a whole lot longer, than any of us would even, think about. They're even talking about they're testing actually high energy laser systems mounted onto military vehicles for bringing down drones for bringing down missiles and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
every service has their own testing, and I
Mhm.
will say the Army. I'm an Army guy. Our stuff, most of our stuff, has just been going in circles. The Navy and the Air Force both are way light years ahead of the Army, and with
Mhm.
those kind of weapons.
Got
and
more
stuff.
money.
Army has more money, but they want to spend it in other, and it's also operational. You got something to put on a boat that you can focus in. And Navy's got that thing lasered in. No pun intended. They've got it laser focused. And then you got the Air Force, and I've got some names on this one. I started digging the OSINT stuff on it. I won't bore people with those kind of details, but I think that the Air Force, the Space Force is way ahead. There's stuff on I think they already have things out there on satellites. The laser that can shoot down a tactical nuke. Read something today about we're in a space race, and they went out publicly. The United States went out publicly in the Pentagon and decided to hey, we have a new policy for the nuclear war and the threat against Russia and China. So, I think the Iron Dome, you start thinking Iron Dome stuff. I mean, why can't we have microwave that are shot, from, that triangulates certain areas of the United States that, I could just see a giant glowing dome over the United States that when a missile comes in to hit it, it just blows up. You know what I mean?
Well, that's why Trump wants to,
The Space
wants
Force, the
Greenland.
first. Well, and he wanted Space Force, and everybody's like, ha ha ha, Space Force, whatever. But you know what? You think about it. That's where the next, probably
joke about it all you want. I mean, you're
2050 or so. That's where it's all going to be fought.
Yeah.
I think whoever gets to the moon first and gets on that side and holds ground, I think they got the tactical advantage of everybody. But that's just me thinking out loud.
Well, we're gonna have our dome. It's happening. It's one of those things, and it took somebody like Trump, somebody who's hated by certain people, to be able to pull it off. That's one of the reasons why he wants Greenland. He wants to be able to have that that system up and running between between Russia and China and us. And I sent that video off today to you guys on Signal about what's all the stuff coming out now about Russia and China looking into nuclear war plans and how our Pentagon
that's
is
where
now,
I saw it. Yeah.
And it's just that's serious, man. There's some serious shit going on here.
Well,
yeah. Go ahead, buddy.
I was just going to say, man, there's funding out there. We've actually pulled funding from the direct energy weapon systems. That I've read this earlier. It was up a little higher in FY 25 and 26. It's a little lower. So, why would we pull funding from it? Is it we're failing at it, or is it something that we've got? Oh, we got this dialed in right now. Let's move that money off to something else. So, keep that in the back of your brain when you're thinking about this stuff.
Yeah.
Well, this article right here, this is from nextgendefense.com. This was written in July of this year, and it says Israel pursues world's first laser weapon capability in space. That way they can take out people who don't like them from a distance. But this is saying that as of today, according to the defense minister, Israel Katz, one of the central goals of the prime minister and I is set that we are recruiting the best minds in order to build this thing. But he also said, as of today, no country has the capability to mount attacks in space. We must be the leading country in the world with this capability.
Yeah, I think we've already got it.
I think we already got that. I'm pretty sure we do.
I'm pretty sure
But-
China probably does, and Russia too. So
you had
Maybe not
mentioned the
Russia.
dome. They have their system that they call the Iron Dome. But back after World War II, when we entered into the nuclear race, we developed NORAD, and NORAD was for many, many, many years. That, along with Stratcom and all of our different capabilities we had back then, was during the nuclear race and the Cold War and all that. But NORAD was the first detection. The problem is that we would only be able to detect, at least back then, until the actual missile had launched and had cleared a certain level of the actual atmosphere going into the ionosphere and all those things. So it even then, it had its limitations, but the first response was not necessarily, because I don't know if we could do it back then, but the first response was actually not to shoot down the missiles. The first response was to counterattack. It was an automatic response. And to the point where, and a lot of people don't know this, we actually used to have artillery systems and mortar systems that had nuclear mortars and nuclear tipped actual artillery rounds stationed in Alaska that were strong enough to actually launch into Russia. And a lot of people do not know that. And that's a historical fact. It's not, some secret squirrel kind of thing. That was known. And, as soon as something was detected, the signal would go out, the pilots would jump in their planes and they would start heading to Russia or wherever it came from. But back then it was most likely Russia. And, we're talking B-52s and, all the different bombers we had back then would just start heading that way. But at the same time, the Russians would be heading this way. It was a guaranteed, the whole world is going to end, split this sucker in half, and let's be done with it. That kind of scenario. But now, if somebody was to launch traditionally from another country, we could shoot it down, I'm sure. But if you have the scenario where somebody kind of like with the movie or the movie and the show, Homestead, kind of like 1 Second After, it was an organization that launched from a container ship out in the water close to the U.S. Nobody had time to actually this normal civilians didn't have time to respond to it, but the U.S. government knew that it was going to happen in that particular, book and scenario. So,
yeah, it's called mutual assured destruction. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, mutual assured destruction doesn't matter if you have people like Iran, mm-hmm. who believe that their death is honorable, that's taking out the world, even if they die, it's okay. They get, that's where they say they get their place in heaven or whatever.
They go to Allah and they go to Allah. X number of virgins.
It's so stupid, man.
It's so stupid.
I'm
like,
ridiculous.
Hold on a second. You get a bunch of virgins, but
what's the point of that?
You have sex with boys and goats for fun?
It is a cult, not a religion. Probably.
All organized IED religions are cults, but yeah.
Yeah, I'll get IED now, but on the way to this Cookie Mart.
But the thing is that we're, these directed energy weapons, we have the First Amendment of the Constitution, okay, which protects our core freedoms like freedom of religion, speech, freedom of the press, assembly, and to petition the government, which is like for peaceful protests, we'll call it, okay. We have the Second Amendment is in place where we get to the right to bear arms to protect the First Amendment. That's the whole point of the Second Amendment, is to be able to keep our government in check, is to keep a balance between the citizens and the government from becoming tyrannical. That's the whole point of the Second Amendment. What happens when there's no more balance? Now, I know that we've never been balanced, but we're kind of balanced right now when you think about the fact that, there are far more Americans with very good firepower in their hands than there are police and government agents and that sort of thing on hand. But what happens when they got these energy weapon systems that can do way, way, way worse? And I'm not talking about just taking out a person. I'm talking about taking out a water supply system,
Mm-hmm.
You know,
With
well,
a
okay, so
with a pinpointed shot.
exactly, that's exactly what I'm saying. Like they don't like, let's say Texas decides to become its own, you know, nation. They just take out they use these directed energy weapons. They're instantaneous. They take it out, and now Texas has to fall back.
Yeah, they're surgical. I mean, they're used and developed for a reason to not have that nuclear effect where, you know, you just carpet bomb like in World War II.
Right.
You have, you know, mutual destruction with the nuclear stuff. So the high energy weapons are designed to, you know, surgically strike something or a group of people, you know, I'm not going to this is not going to be popular people to hear, but there's some facts in it, you know. The January 6th thing, you know, people are marching on the White House and actually got in. You can say whatever you want to say about it. You know, it was left or it was right. It was, you know, designed. It was a trap, whatever. But I have the belief that we had direct energy weapons around the White House that could have been used on the crowd, that could have been done, and they chose not to. A pretty good authority that they have that we have that stuff, you know, in DC.
Well, there's all types of weapon systems on top of the and that's also a known fact. That's not secret stuff.
Yeah.
There's also defense systems on top of the Pentagon, you know, that it makes sense, you know.
But it is
the point is our freedoms, religion, speech, the press, right to assemble, right to petition our government, right to protest, peaceful protest. Those basic core rights are in jeopardy if we don't have the ability to stand up to the government, to say enough is enough. You're not gonna cheat on these elections. You're not gonna change you're not gonna change unless they change the Constitution. I mean, that's a whole nother thing. It's a whole nother podcast or two or three.
Here we go. Soapbox time.
My point is, like, if you get the wrong actors behind those desks, then our AR-15s and our knowledge and our prepping and stuff can go right out the window when they've got directed energy weapons that can take you out without even knowing it, you know, that they took you out. You could be inside your house recording a podcast like we're doing right now. In fact,
you just start shitting your pants.
In fact, there was Art Bell was actually doing an interview with a guy who called in, and I'll find this and play for you guys. I'm not sure if I could.
You're talking about The Hole?
No, not The Hole. The Mel's Hole. That's a great one too. But the guy calls in and says that he worked at Area 51. He was on the phone. He was hyper, like he was dramatic and crying, and he was saying, "You don't understand. The aliens, they're here and they're coming and they're gonna and they're blah blah blah." He was getting really, and that's you know, typical Art Bell crazy guy calling in. But that's not the important part of what happened. The important part of what happened is Art Bell's system cut off right when this guy was talking. The entire thing got cut off and went on to backup power and all this other stuff. And he finally came back on the air. And Art was like, "What just happened? This is, in all my years of radio, this has never happened. I have a system that's protected against this. This does not happen. I don't get shut down."
There's a couple controversial, you know, right-wing types that podcasts that I listen to that have actually been cut off before.
Really?
They get scrambled. Right? They have, and these guys are kind of the same thing. It's kind of, they're real versed in stuff. They live out in the sticks. You know, they use countermeasures, all, you know, to mitigate a lot of this stuff.
Right.
And they'll still, you know, you'll hear static and stuff, and it's like, okay, they're messing with this again. So, I mean, it's a thing. It is definitely a thing. But
have we figured out? No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, buddy. I'm just saying, like you said, I'm jumping on a soapbox real quick. If you listen to what the DSA has said they're gonna do, and you need to listen to their words, what they're gonna do when they get in office, our whole way of life is going to be changed, and then you're just not going to be able to, you know, vote your way out of it. Once they get in and get in power, it's done. You in communism, if you vote, people vote their way into socialism, and which turns into communism every time. Once you get into socialism, eventually it does. Once you get into communism, then you're done. The only way out is with the gun. There's no voting
I
way out
I
of
thought
it.
they got you for a second. You were gone for a second.
I was like, oh no, they got Buddy.
Yeah,
No,
Buddy
no,
was talking.
seriously.
I mean,
Did I phase out or something?
yeah, you
Yeah.
did.
Oh,
That's
fuck.
that was weird.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh. I could just imagine that. Like next thing in the news on Oklahoma Today.
I mean, we have a lot of listeners, but we're not that big. Come on.
Well, what was the movie? And I don't know if I'm remembering this correctly, but wasn't there a movie a long time ago? I want to say 80s, and I don't know if it was Weird Science or something else, but they shot an energy or basically a laser beam into this giant thing of popcorn.
Okay, who is this?
This is Jesus, Kent.
And you've been a very...
Naughty boy.
And from now on...
Stop playing with yourself.
Okay, God! Let me have it! Popcorn. Oh! Yeah, it's getting kind of weird around here, you know?
Oh yeah, that was fantastic.
What was that?
That was called Weird Science.
Was it Weird Science?
Yeah, with Val Kilmer.
No,
Val Kilmer.
no.
He was a kid. Yeah, Val Kilmer. He was a kid.
No, Weird Science is the one where they was with what's her name, super hot British chick that they created from. Like,
oh
a Barbie doll.
Okay.
I know, and he was cutting like thin slices of dry ice to at the same size as quarters to get drinks. Anyways,
yes.
Yeah, when he was like, Ken, it's God. But if you think about it, that scene, if you really look back at that scene, you know, some big laser coming down and heating up this giant thing of popcorn, that's predictive programming. You think about that.
Because they had it or they were working on it.
They had it or they were working on it. And that is just saying,
that was Reagan. That was the Reagan days in the 80s. That Reagan was starting up the whole Star Wars thing.
Yeah. That's exactly what that was. So, I mean, if you put your tinfoil hat theory on, Real Genius was the name of the movie.
Real Genius. There you go.
You could think of that as predictive programming. You know, they were telling us back in 1985 that movie was made. Hey, we've got this thing and this is what we can do with it. It's pretty cool right now, but think of what we could do if we focus this sucker. You know, that's crazy to think about.
Well, I just to finish off here because it's getting late. I asked AI how a prepper survivalist could defend against high energy weapons. And I'm not going to read any of these off. I'm just going to read off the titles of each one. There's like 5. I'm not going to read off the description. They say high reflective coatings, thermal protective systems, evasive maneuvering. Can you imagine my fat ass running around in circles? Atmospheric obscurance and swarm tactics, flooding an area with inexpensive decoys. That's all it can come up with, man. Which half of them are a joke.
Tinfoil diaper.
Well, no, you're right. The high reflective coatings. I mean, that's a tinfoil hat right there. That's what that is. Thermal protection system.
Interessante. All right.
Bye.
My prepper brothers and sisters. If you have an idea for a show topic or would like to be on the show as our guest, email shtf@topsbunker.com, website topsbunker.com, YouTube Tops Bunker Podcast channel, and SpeakPipe, speakpipe.com/tops. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and remember, stay prepped, stay happy. Thanks for listening, and good night.